It was about as perfect of a game as you could get for the Golden State Warriors. It was the kind of game that when you see it executed, you think to yourself, oh, yeah, this team is the defending world champion. This team could repeat as world champions. Why don't they do this every night? Well, they did it tonight, and that was awesome. The Warriors thump the Oklahoma City Thunder at home in a game where Klay Thompson hit 12 three-pointers, too shy of his own record, and he could have broken it if this was not a blowout victory. We're going to talk about that and so much more next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Locked On. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. The program is on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. I would love people engaging on the chat. It's a live Monday night show following, again, a game that was absolutely dominant. Not necessarily from start to finish. It was close at the beginning. The Warriors were actually trailing this game for all of the first quarter and some of the second, but they pulled away. 141-114 was the final, a game where the Warriors won by 27 points. And for once, this was not the norm. This is the exception this year. Typically during this dynasty, though, it's been the norm that the Warriors dominate third quarters. That has not been the case this season, but tonight they came out like gangbusters to start the second half. They outscored the Thunder 44-26 in the third quarter. And again, welcome to everyone who joined the chat. Joe asks if you're watching this on YouTube, why am I wearing a beanie? I do it sometimes. It's cold. What do you want from me? Plus, I'm representing Locked On with the beanie. So there you go. But let's start off with Klay Thompson. This was an absolutely phenomenal game from Klay, and this really just adds on to literally the greatest offensive month of Klay's career in the month of January. And he followed that up with a performance tonight that was certainly by his standards exemplary. And if it's by his standards exemplary, you know it was a damn good night. First off with the stats, Klay was pulled with about approximately 4 minutes and change remaining. He played 33 minutes tonight, and he was pulled because the Warriors had a lead that I believe was at 21 or 23 when he was finally taken out of the game. 42 points to lead all scores tonight in a game that was just absolutely magnificent. From beyond the arc, he was 12 of 16, 15 of 22 from the field. It doesn't matter what else he did. I mean, he had 3 rebounds. Okay, 1 assist, so what? 42 points on 12 of 16 shooting from beyond the arc. Again, the 12 threes, too shy of a record that he owns. He set that record with 14. And Peter Tresso, I see this comment that you just wrote, which I absolutely love. And P.S., I see your comment as well, both referring to Moses Moody and James Wiseman. I'll save that for a little later in the show. They came in the game in garbage time, and they look good. I mean, look, it's not fair to judge anyone in garbage time, good or bad, but Wiseman looked good. Moody had that monster dunk, reminding people that he actually does have athleticism. Yes, P.S. with the correct comment. You're absolutely right. Moody had a monster dunk at the end of that game, but got to start things off with Klay. And one of the craziest things about tonight is the fact that the Golden State Warriors, I believe, were just 1 3-pointer shy of setting a franchise record for most threes made in a game. The Warriors finished 26 of 50 from beyond the arc. That is a staggering number. Not only were they 1 3 shy of the franchise record, I believe they were 3 shy of the all-time record, at least tying it for most threes in a game. 26 of 50 as a team. This was a game where they did not have Steph and Curry. You would think on a night where they're just draining threes left and right, Steph would be the catalyst for it. Not the case. It was absolutely insane. So, and it all starts with Klay Thompson. Again, marvelous performance tonight. I want to play the soundbite. This was during the post-game, a post-game interview on NBC Sports Bay Area. They carry all the games. And so they had a chance to interview Klay right after. This is the wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sharing the wrong file or the wrong video. Here we go. So, and this was Klay again. He was asked about the fact that he got pulled out early. Klay wanted to stay in the game. He did protest, but he also understood why he got pulled out of the game. So here's Klay giving his reasoning and explaining his thoughts at the end of the game when he got pulled with 12 threes, only 2 shy of his own record of 14.
Oh man, I was campaigning for it, but we got a quick turnaround on Wednesday, and I don't think the basketball guys like when you chase records, so you gotta let those happen organically.
Absolutely right. And you know what? One of the million things I love about Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, and Steph says this a lot. If you listen to Stephen Curry interviews, he drops the basketball gods phrase quite a bit. It's like part of his vernacular. Klay drops it as well. And when you hear them say that, it's more like a karma thing, right? It's just basically like, are you being ethical out there? That's the reference for the basketball gods. I believe in it the same. For some reason, I grew up absolutely believing that there is some sort of energy in this universe that regulates everything based on energy. And when it comes to basketball, I never want to upset the basketball gods. And I love the fact that Klay made that reference. I believe in it as well. And again, I'm sure that's really just a reference more so to karma, clearly not scientific, but hey. So that was awesome. Jordan Poole had a fabulous game. The one stat that really stuck out to me with Jordan Poole, and it didn't stick out to me for a good reason. Jordan Poole had his first double-double of the season. Now, look, I understand double-doubles are an impressive stat, right? I mean, unless you're Draymond Green, most likely you're getting a double-double based off points and either double-digit assists or rebounds. Akeem Olajuwon, when I was younger, I remember, I think he flirted or maybe had a quadruple-double, and the fourth category was blocks. Draymond Green has toyed with quadruple doubles as well in really unusual stats. I think one time he came like just a steal short of a quadruple double. Double doubles, I mean, they're awesome. You obviously would like to accomplish it, but it was weird. Jordan Poole, just his first double double of the entire year. That's just, I don't know, this seemed weird to me. But it was also his third double double of his entire career. But he had an awesome night. I mean, there were a couple passing plays to Kevon Looney where it was sorcery. It was pure magic watching Jordan Poole execute, filling in for Stephen Curry. And what I loved about it is that it was pure unselfishness, right? I mean, it was literally like when you're tallying up assists. Sorry, I'm trying to juggle doing a solo show here. And by the way, I want to quickly add as well, the reason why I do so many solo shows following Warriors games, it's not because I love the sound of my own voice, far from it. It's because for the platform that we use Locked On for, a lot of people, it's janky. Locked On Warriors and a few other shows are still waiting to roll over to a new platform. I know none of you care about this, but I'm explaining why I don't have a lot of guests for these post-game shows, because a lot of guests don't have the internet connection or the right computer to be able to come on with me for post-game. It totally sucks. So that's why I'm solo in a lot of these instances. Anyways, I digress. Steve Kerr. I want to play this soundbite because he was talking about Jordan Poole's performance tonight, filling in for Stephen Curry and really embracing the point guard mentality versus that typical scoring mentality that Jordan Poole always has. And I'll obviously go over his stats tonight, which were fantastic. But here's Steve Kerr talking about Jordan Poole.
What do you think of Point Poole? He seemed to be moving the ball really well tonight.
I thought Jordan was magnificent. One of the best games I've ever seen him play. He just was so under control. I think the first half he controlled the half without really scoring much at all. Klay was dominating, obviously, with his shot, but Jordan was controlling the game, just running the show and taking care of the ball. And then, of course, he started scoring in the second half when that presented itself. But he was just he was brilliant all night.
He was. He absolutely was brilliant. I don't know what Rig VB writes. I need a thrombic modulator. Please enlighten me on what that means. I have no idea. But anyways, Jordan Poole for the night. Just to go over his stat line, because again, it was fantastic. And I think one of the things that really stuck out, even though he had 4 turnovers, in fact, both him and Klay Thompson had 4 turnovers. You did not feel it. You didn't sense it, right? It's one of those instances where statistics just don't necessarily reflect the reality of the game you just watched. And Jordan Poole in 29 minutes of play, despite the fact that he had 4 turnovers, he also scored 21 points, and he had 12 assists, which represented, again, his first double-double of the season. But, there was a lot of pressure on him. Just yesterday, I hosted, this is one of 2 podcasts I do. The other one is with Hall of Famer Rick Barry, and highly recommend checking that out in case I'm trying to promote it in terms of getting subscribers up. The Rick Barry Show, it's available on YouTube. And we did a show yesterday where we talked about Poole, about the fact that he was being booed at Chase Center last game, about the fact that there are a lot of disgruntled people who are starting to point a finger at Jordan Poole in terms of this season not going according to plan. When all these trade ideas come up, when people throw out trade proposals, Jordan Poole's name is routinely thrown in there among members of Dub Nation. Don't count me in on that. Jordan Poole, to me, is progressing beautifully. He's only 23 years of age. Entering tonight, he was averaging 20.5 points per game. His shooting percentages are down a little bit, but there's still a lot of games left this season. I'd like to see those numbers go up, certainly. But Jordan Poole's awesome. I mean, Jordan Poole is an explosive player who's highly talented. And again, he's really young. I encourage patience with Jordan Poole, because what we saw tonight could be something that we see consistently. And that's what Rick Barry echoed, is that he just wants consistency from Jordan Poole. I wholeheartedly agree. But to say that he's like a negative on this team, to want to trade him, I'm certainly not on that boat. I think even now he contributes tremendously. And tonight he proved that. So a marvelous game for Jordan Poole. One more time with the stat line. One other stat started to throw out in the stat line is that he was plus 28 in the plus minus to lead the Golden State Warriors. In fact, every player on the Warriors roster, this includes Moses Moody, who got 11 minutes, I think almost all in the fourth quarter. I saw him early in the game as well. James Wiseman finished with plus 4. He got 5 minutes of play. That was entirely in garbage time. But only one player was in the negative, and that was Ty Jerome with a -1. But even Ty had a decent game tonight. But this was just absolutely fantastic. 141 to 114. We're going to talk a lot more. And again, I'm really encouraging and embracing the chat. We're going to talk about some prospective Warriors trades and some players that are still out there. One name that comes to mind that I tweeted out earlier, and I'll bring it up again, seems to be the consensus for a player that almost everyone really wants. And reportedly, the asking price is not astronomically high. I'll talk about that and so much more in just a minute. Got to give some love to sponsors, though. And first up here on a Monday night is PrizePicks. And they even have their own overlay. Let me bust that thing out real quick. And again, please continue with the chat. This is a live show on Monday night. I am reading them as much as I can. And on a night when I'm solo, I actually love it. So chat posts are welcome. PrizePicks. I forgot to play tonight. I'm kicking myself because I absolutely would have bet the over on Jordan Poole. Although I don't know if I would have won betting the over. Usually Poole, when he's on PrizePicks, is at like 24-25 for the OU. But that's how PrizePicks works. 2 to 6 players. You're betting over unders, right? So Jordan Poole, for example, PrizePicks might set a number of 24.5. All you have to do is decide, is he going to bet over that amount or under that amount? It's legal in California for those of you watching here in my home state. And you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. And it's not just NBA. You can bet on or bet, whatever you want to call it, on all sports. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's super easy. And what's really awesome are the safe and fast withdrawals. You don't have to deal with sketchy wire services. It operates in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with a promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, they give you $100. And if you don't have $100, you only have $20, $50, whatever it is, they will match that. You just have to use the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. The NBA trade deadline is approaching, and Locked On has you covered. Thursday, February 9th, tune in to Locked On NBA on YouTube at 2 p.m. Eastern time to hear reaction from the trades that will change the rest of the NBA season. Who becomes contenders? Who is tanking for a better future? Subscribe to Locked On NBA on YouTube and don't miss a deal. And that's a big question. Am I going to be on that show Thursday? Am I going to be part of Locked On NBA Thursday? Because the only hosts who are going to be joining that show are hosts of teams who made a trade. So the question is, are the Warriors going to make a trade? JFR quickly here writes, that was the first win that actually made me feel good about this team's chances going forward. This was a feel-good win. There's no doubt about it. It was exactly what you want from the Warriors. It's what we've been expecting all season from the Warriors, and they did it without Steph Curry. That was one of the best parts. Nick Frensky, hey, great to see you. I know you had a couple questions for us with the Rick Barry show yesterday, writes, thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga starting tonight? Love it. I bought Jonathan Kuminga's stock his rookie season. I'm all in. I love Kuminga. He's already one of my favorite players on the Warriors. He brings an extra energy that and speed and athleticism that Kevon Looney doesn't bring. Kevon Looney's much more, in my opinion, about brute strength, phenomenal hands when it comes to rebounding. Jonathan Kuminga is more, he's a five-tool player. I mean, he can do it all. I think he hit a three tonight on top of just an all-around great game. There was one particular lob I remember from the first quarter. I think Draymond set him up that just made me think, why are they not doing this all the time? Kuminga is so athletic that if you just throw that ball up there, he will grab it. He did make 1 3 tonight. He was 1 for 3 from beyond the arc, 3 for 9 from the field. If there's any complaint, it was just that I wish I saw more minutes. He played 23 minutes tonight. Not a huge stat night for him, but again, he was plus 19 in the plus minus. I loved him. I think Kuminga is going to be a superstar in this game someday. It's not a matter of if, but when, in my humble opinion. So, and then Gilpy Finn writes that it was good to see Wiseman get some good productive minutes. Absolutely. I'm all on board in terms of giving Wiseman minutes. I want to see him out there. It's perplexing and baffling that he's not playing routinely, but even though it was garbage time, I loved it. So that's my opinion on that. I want to shift gears for a second. I'm going to come back to this game, but I want to shift gears because this is Warriors related, but there was a big trade that happened, and that was the flat earther. Kyrie Irving was traded to the Dallas Mavericks. We all know about it, but here's the part about it that I think needs to be emphasized. If you consider yourself a member of Dub Nation, if you love this team, that trade is impactful. The Dallas Mavericks are sort of a rival. This is a team that they faced in the Western Conference Finals, didn't have much difficulties with them, but nonetheless, Luka Doncic is already one of the greatest players in the game, and he someday could reach the echelon of all-time greats. Who knows what his ceiling is? But in doing this trade, look, I understand that Kyrie Irving is a freak of nature offensively. All right. One of the arguably the greatest handles this game's ever seen. Phenomenal shooter, phenomenal passer, underrated as a rebounder. But he's not a great defender. And what the Mavericks gave up in that trade were players that caused the Warriors a lot of problems, right? And they're gone. So and the players I'm talking about here that the Dallas Mavericks gave up, we're talking about Spencer Dinwiddie, a player that caused a lot of issues defensively for the Warriors. You don't have to deal with him anymore. And he's a great offensive player too, by the way. Spencer Dinwiddie is just underrated, period, in my humble opinion. But also Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith was a headache for the Golden State Warriors, not only because he is a great shooter, but he's an athletic wing player who causes a lot of havoc defensively when the Warriors played him. They're gone. Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie are gone. And when the Warriors play the Mavericks again, they're going to see a defense that they could and should eat up. I understand that the Mavericks made this trade because a huge reason for it is because they want to make Luka happy. All right. They want to show to him on paper, judge us based on our actions. Don't judge us based just on our words. And when we tell you how much we love you, we just got you another superstar. We got you a potential future Hall of Famer. Yeah, but you sacrificed a lot of athleticism in the process. You sacrificed a defense that was okay, not great, and it's gone. The Warriors, who already have a lethal offense, are going to eat that team up. Never mind the fact that I don't know how it's going to work in terms of the usage rate, which Luka, I believe, leads the NBA in. I know the Mavericks are probably thinking, well, Kyrie worked with Harden, who is similar like Luka in terms of usage, needing the ball, handling the ball. This is not going to work. So if you're a member of Dub Nation, that is my commentary on that Mavericks trade. I had to throw it in there. All that did, in my opinion, was just take one team out of the equation in terms of being in the way of the Golden State Warriors. So we're going to get back to the Warriors. I just had to mention that real fast here on this Monday night. I got to give some love to a longtime sponsor of this program, and that's Built Bar. And the Warriors, I feel like, ate their Built Bars tonight, especially Moses Moody, man. That dunk at the end of the game. I'm really glad he did that just because there's a lot of people out there that, and these are all the Moody haters who swear by anything Steve Kerr says, refuse to refuse to support Moody in this whole thing. I mean, to me, he's getting jobbed, getting these DNPs and low minutes night after night. That dunk was massive. It just showed how much athleticism and what he could do if given a chance. I loved seeing it. And he probably ate his Built Bar, folks, because that's what Built Bar does. It's packed with protein, even though it's got 100% real chocolate surrounding the bar itself, what makes it yummy. It only has 4 grams of sugar on average per bar. So you're ditching fat, you're ditching calories, because on average, every Built Bar only has 140 calories. So 130 calories, even less. So you're only dealing with 130 calories. You're only dealing with 4 grams of sugar. You're packing 17 grams of protein on average. That translates to a healthier, fit body. And they don't taste bad either. They actually taste fantastic. So go for it. Built Bars. Moses Moody probably ate his tonight. James Wiseman probably ate his tonight. You know, Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole ate theirs tonight. Draymond Green had a fantastic game. He probably ate his tonight. And they're available in stores now. Head to the nearest Walmart, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box there of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And if you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. And of course, just go to the website, built.com, if you want to order them and have them delivered straight to your door.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen. And after us, go check out Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurf Roadshow. This program is on Twitter and available at Locked On Dubs. So Nick Frensky real quick writes, and this is I'm glad you brought this up, Nick, because you write, I suppose tonight is maybe why Rick Barry, who again I co-host the Rick Barry Show with, please do subscribe to Rick Barry's House. That is his podcast channel, our podcast channel. So Nick, you write, I suppose maybe tonight is why Rick Barry wouldn't trade Moses Moody for Matisse Thybulle of the Philadelphia 76ers. And that's why he's a Hall of Famer. Well, Rick Barry is brilliant when it comes to basketball in general. And I think just in life in general, for the most part, even though politically we're not on the same page often, I think our relationship is an example of where two people from different sides of an ideological spectrum can still happily get along and flourish. But Matisse Thybulle is a one-dimensional player. And I do agree with Rick Barry that Matisse Thybulle is not someone that you should be trading Moses Moody or James Wiseman for. if it's a low asking price, like a second round pick, yes, of course. Why not? I mean, but the moment you're asking for a lottery pick, I hesitate as well. Now, but one name that is out there that is out there potentially for trade that I think all of us agree with. And Joseph Kine, I'll answer your question in just a second because you asked something interesting. But Jared Vanderbilt of the Utah Jazz is reportedly out there and available in the trading block. And reports came out today that the Utah Jazz are seeking 2 second-round picks. That's it. 2 second-round picks for Jared Vanderbilt. Now, obviously, you're going to have to throw some other pieces in there to make the salaries work. But Jared Vanderbilt could solve a lot of problems for the Warriors. Besides being an athletic specimen who could play great defense and would help solve a lot of the perimeter defense issues that the Warriors suffer from, he's also a fantastic rebounder who would help solve the offensive rebounding issues. I'm all in. Give me some Jared Vanderbilt. And the reports are that it will only take 2 second-round picks. If that's true, and the Warriors are not pouncing on that, I don't know what to tell you. I want Vanderbilt. I love him. Let's really hope the Warriors pursue that because and Eddie757 writes, Moody for Vanderbilt works salary-wise. Why give up Moody? I mean, if you don't have to, don't do that. I don't want to give up Moody. Now, I wanted to address this one question here because it's a good question. Let me see if I can find it. Sadiq Bey is available as well. Washington, yeah, he is available. I don't know what the asking price is. I wouldn't mind Sadiq Bey either. I would prefer Jared Vanderbilt though, just from my perspective. But this question here needs to be addressed. So since Ryan Rollins is injured, and that came out today, he's gonna have surgery on the bottom of his foot. It's a brutal, I believe he had like a stress fracture. I haven't done my full research on this, so please don't I'm sorry for not being a tremendous source of information on the Ryan Rollins injury, but it's a foot injury. My understanding is it's, I believe, the Lisfranc, which is a part of the foot that does not get good blood flow, which is why they need to have a surgical procedure when you fracture that part of your foot. But it does raise an interesting question, which Joseph Kine Lewin Lapide writes, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. So since Ryan Rollins is injured, does Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb get a guaranteed contract? So probably not is the answer to that. The reason why is because the NBA does grant on a very limited basis exceptions to your roster when it comes to injuries. So for example, in the case of Ryan Rollins, if the Warriors were, for example, already at 15 players on the roster, they could go to the NBA and say, hey, since he's hurt, can we sign someone else? And the NBA would probably grant that. The injury has to be one where it's a safe conclusion of the player being out for the year. So that probably would work. The problem is that injury exception does not save money from the team. So just because Ryan Rollins is out for the year doesn't mean the team can apply for an injury exception and no longer pay a luxury tax penalty for the money they're spending on him. And keep in mind, they also spent $3 million to move up, like 7 places in the second round of the draft to get Ryan Rollins. That whole thing was weird. I don't get it. He did play good in Santa Cruz, by the way. He averaged 19.5 points per game playing in Santa Cruz, which is awesome because it showed potential, right? But with the problem is the whole hesitancy with the Warriors giving either Anthony Lamb or Ty Jerome a guaranteed deal is that Joe Lacob would have to spend more money. And Joe Lacob wants his lottery picks playing, and these 2A guys are hindering that, which I think is playing into why they're not getting guaranteed deals. So even though Ryan Rollins is hurt, and even though the Warriors could probably get an injury exemption for him if they applied for it, thus having 2 open roster spots, technically, they already have an open roster spot and they haven't filled it. And it's not going to save the team money. So probably it's going to result in it's just going to be inconsequential. Rollins' injury. As Dean Fasasi writes, bro, about to be homeless. Are you referring to Ryan Rollins? No, the Warriors invested in him. They actually paid him more than what a second round pick normally gets. They in terms of guaranteed money. He'll be back. He's not going anywhere with the team. Joe Lacob likes him. And Sandras Rux raises an interesting point. Sandras writes, why can't we play this hard every game? Not saying we're going to win every game, but at least play hard to give us a chance. Wholeheartedly agree. And that feeds into one of the reasons I think a lot of people believe the Warriors are struggling this year is that they just don't care that much. They're sleepwalking through the season. There's a lot of apathy. Players are going to strip clubs. There's a championship hangover. The veterans are bored. It could be. I mean, you're right. It's a valid question and a valid point to bring up is why is this team not playing with the amount of energy and hustle they played with tonight? I don't know. But I will say this. Klay Thompson is surging right now. He is flying. Supremacia 9910 writes, any news on Guy Santos? No, Kevin Daniel will be on the show this week. He'll fill everyone in. Unless he's injured, though, the last stats I've seen of him were phenomenal. I think Guy Santos has a very strong possibility of a bright future with the Warriors. He's a physical specimen. He's a big boy. Reminds me a little bit of like a shorter Zaza Pachulia with a much larger skill set. So yeah, but I can't. We'll have Kevin Dan on the show to talk about that. I want to play real quick before we go. And I'm going to go join Larry Krueger if you folks want to keep the party going. But I'm going to play this soundbite from Draymond Green talking about Jordan Poole. Just because, again, first of all, these two have a little history in case you folks forgot. But that I want to assure everyone who still may or may not believe that punch from training camp or the preseason has any lingering effects. I assure you, I promise you, my own sources who I do trust have told me that it is such a foregone in the past incident. There are no lingering effects. Everything is fine in terms of Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. And here's Draymond talking about Jordan Poole, who again had a fantastic night tonight, filling in as a starter for Stephen Curry.
Draymond, what did you think of Jordan's facilitating? And
I thought that's the best game I've ever seen him play. Played it great. He ended with 4 turnovers. 3 of them was just him understanding what was going on in the game and trying to get Klay shots at the end of the game. So realistically have 1 turnover and 13 assists or something like that. I thought he played an incredible game on both sides of the ball. He was good defensively. Their whole offense is running guards in the guard screens and waiting on a slip up and then driving that gap. And he was incredible on that side of the ball. And he was incredible, obviously, offensively. He let the game come to him. He got everybody involved. And then he looked for a shot. And everything was beautiful. I thought that was an incredible game, one of the best games, if not the best game I've ever seen.
Oh, look at those compliments. The best game he's ever seen Jordan Poole play. How can you argue against that? Poole looked good. And props to Draymond Green for bringing up the fact that 3 of the 4 Jordan Poole turnovers in tonight's game were because he was trying to get Klay the ball, almost forcing it to him. I don't know if you folks watched the full game near the end there. Klay was trying really hard to break his own single game record for most threes made. Again, he finished with 12 tonight, 2 short of 14. But there were a few turnovers there because the Thunder were practically putting all 5 of their defenders on Klay to prevent the record from being set. And so kudos to Draymond. That was great insight right there. Kudos to the Golden State Warriors for just a fantastic night of basketball. I'm going to show you the stat real quick before we go. And again, I'm going to go jump on Larry Krueger's show after this, the Crew Show. But I do want to pump up real quick again, Rick Barry's house. It's Rick Barry's YouTube channel. Him and I do a show a couple times a month. He is brilliant when it comes to basketball. I literally am just a leech sucking information from him every time I talk to him. And so I please subscribe to Rick Barry's house. It's on YouTube. But I want to show this graphic real quick before I go jump on with Larry Krueger for a few minutes. And this is just staggering. It just goes to show you just how dominant Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are compared to the rest of the competition in terms of shooters. The most games with 10-plus three-pointers made all time. Stephen Curry leads that category with 22. In other words, Stephen Curry has played in 22 games where he's made 10 or more threes. Klay Thompson tonight, that made it 8. Klay Thompson has played in 8 games where he's made 10 or more three-pointers. That's second on the list. And third is Dame Lillard with 4. again, the Splash Brothers, man. We are very fortunate right now, if you're a sports fan especially, if you're a Warriors fan especially, to be alive and just watch this. This is absolute greatness, watching the two greatest shooters in the history of the game. And tonight was fantastic without Steph and Curry. Klay Thompson pouring in 42. Andrew Wiggins had a fantastic night as well, particularly his defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was held to just 20 points. He got in foul trouble early on, which affected his play. Only shot 6 of 16 from the field. SGA did not hit a single three-pointer tonight, and that was largely because of Andrew Wiggins' defense. Wiggins poured in 32 points, starting to look like his old self. I saw a couple plays where he scored buckets in the post, and that part of his game has elevated tremendously, and he finished tonight with 18 points, was second on the team in plus minus with plus 25. And Jonathan Kuminga, even though he didn't have a huge stat night again, he had 7 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, was plus 19 in the plus minus. And Kevon Looney was plus 21, even though he only had 4 points. He did grab 11 rebounds. But Jordan Poole, again, the most complete game of his career. I think it's safe to say that. 21 points, 12 assists, added 4 rebounds. And the Warriors, just a dominating performance after a slow start tonight, defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder 141-114. Again, if the Warriors make a trade this week, we will have an emergency podcast to talk about it. The question is, hello. Sorry, I love doing live shows because the chat is on fire. And you're right, a game like tonight does beg the question, like should the Warriors make a trade, or are they fine the way they are? I maintain that this team is fine if the minute distribution is proper and you're playing the right folks. No disrespect to Anthony Lamb, but he didn't play tonight, and I don't think the team needs him. I really don't. They've got enough players as is. I think so. You just got to actually play him. You got to play Moody. You got to play Wiseman. I know they only played in garbage time, but I'm telling you, they can contribute. I believe that with pure conviction. And want to mention Draymond Green again. We played that soundbite. 7 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Solid night from it. Just a solid night from everybody. Damn it. It was just a great game. So again, I'm going to go join Larry Krueger right now. 141-114, the final. Kylan Mills is going to join me tomorrow. If you follow this program on Twitter, @LockedOnDubs, that's where we post the start times for this show. Come join us then. Thank you, everyone. This was awesome. Great night. Especially if you're a Warriors fan. That was one hell of a win, and we'll be back at it tomorrow right here. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Later.